This episode of my Streamlabs Desktop Masterclass is going to be a fun one and hopefully a slightly easy one. We're setting up alerts. We're going to customize your alerts to save on car insurance. We're going to set up your alerts. We're going to customize them. We're going to edit text and how they look and show you some of the cool ones you can pick up with Streamlabs Ultra, things like that. The Streamlabs course is sponsored by Streamlabs. Of course, you can get a link to download Streamlabs Desktop in the description down below. And this is a full playlist I will have linked in the description. We're covering everything from initial setup to best stream and recording settings. Right now we're setting up alerts, then we'll do multi-streaming. What else we got? We got charity streams and CloudBot configuration, background removal, optimizing your webcam, lots of good stuff like that. Let's jump in. All right, first and foremost, I'm just using a fairly basic setup we built in a previous episode here where I just have a standard webcam and desktop scene. Because if you get one of the fancy Streamlabs Ultra packages, it comes with alerts for that package already kind of pre-made. And I wanted to demonstrate setting it up yourself in case you're using your own layout, in case you want to go a little mix and match style, and we will take a look at those. So I have a webcam scene here, and the only source on this scene is my webcam. So I want to add alerts to the scene because the scene will be going out to my stream. So I'm going to come over here next to sources and add one, and we're going to do an alert box, which is right here at the top under essentials. Now this will give you alerts for tips whenever someone just directly contributes money to you, subscriptions, follows, bits, and it supports Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Trovo on some, as well as other integrations with some degree of functionality across those. So we're going to click add source. Let's call this tutorial alerts. And now you get to filter what alerts you get. Now, this is really good in my opinion, as especially streaming on Twitch, I just don't like to have follower alerts enabled. I know some people do, and that's fine. That's great. It depends on how intrusive your alerts are, but especially for the flashier ones, I think these days follow alerts are just kind of, same thing with normal YouTube subscribers. I think they're just kind of too distracting. I am the kind of streamer that wants to focus on the content, on what's happening in the stream, and getting a bunch of those extra follow notifications when you're not actually, focused on that is just super distracting. So we got tips, cheers, super chats, merch, raid, YouTube memberships, which is a subscription compared to Twitch subscription, Trovo raid, Trovo subscription. That should be good. I'm filtering out all of the others. Now, from here, we can actually change a lot of the individual settings, and we can preview it here. So we can play it and see what this looks like. So now this is pulling out the Lo-Fi Cat alerts that we downloaded in a previous episode of the course. So we get a preview of that beautiful animation. But if you don't have one set up or you don't like what you see, we're going to go ahead and close this, and we'll need to go into our Streamlabs settings for these specific alerts. Now I've logged into my Streamlabs dashboard here in my web browser. We're going to go over here to Alert Box. Obviously, it has its own tutorial you can walk through if you're not, following along with this video. Although this covers the steps we've already covered, but we want to switch themes. Up here at the top, you will have a drop-down box that may have some themes here already. These are some of the ones I've downloaded. We can add a theme, which means we can make one our own and just start customizing it, or we can browse the themes for the themes in the Streamlabs marketplace. We're going to make one just to start as a demonstration. So I'm going to just call this tutorial test ignore. Now, you can have it automatically use Streamlabs' default settings, which will basically just copy what you already have. I'm going to leave that off. We're going to start from scratch just to get a feel for what this looks like. This is not going to be a graphics design tutorial. I'm not going to walk you through making all of the individual graphics for it, but we can see what the options are. So for each given alert, right now we're on follows. I'm going to jump over here to subscriptions because that's what I care about. You have a lot of settings for how you can make an alert. This is a whole modular system here with which you can make your graphics. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull over some graphics files that I had a designer make for me like 7 years ago at this point when I was early in my streaming. I'm going to see if I can find those real quick. Okay, I have the file. I like making folders in my user folder in Windows, just as a fun little tip here. I have a dedicated programs folder, and this holds all of my portable apps that don't require installation. That way, anytime I need to reinstall Windows or back up things or whatever, I can just back up my home folder and have a lot of the stuff backed up. I'm going to do the same thing for stream files. I had a video a while back on backing up stream files for other programs and things like that. Similar structure as I showed there. So I'm going to make stream files. I already have one. It's right there. Look at that. See? Ahead of the game. Here I have a lot of graphics and things like that. I do not have my alerts folder, so I'm just going to paste that in here. Give it a second. And down here we have alerts. So these are already generated into WebM media files. I have videos on converting that and doing all of that if you want. If you work with a graphic designer, they should be able to do it. But what we want is to find the individual image. It can be a static image or a video file that you want to actually show on screen. So if we hit preview, again, this is the Lo-Fi Cat graphic that it pulled from the other theme. We want to replace that image. And now there are a couple layouts you can do for that. You can do image above text, text over top of the image, which is what happens here. The text writes literally on top of the image, or image to the left of the text. That way, if you're just doing something basic, which I guess I can demonstrate as well, you can have it just show up next to it and not have to worry about matching things or whatever. So we are first going to delete that file and select our new graphic file. We're going to upload it. Click or drag to drop to upload. I will do drag and drop because that will be easy. And we are working on the subscription alert. So I've got subscriberfinal.webm. I'm going to drag that on here. I also have, I've already done these. Look at that. Anyway, so we're going to choose our WebM file. That is for our subscriber alert. I'm going to select it. And now if we preview, thank you, new subscriber. Now, this is a scenario where text over top of the image doesn't actually work, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we're going to do image above text. We're going to preview it again. We got our alert graphic, and then the text appears below it, which is fine. That is exactly how I want this to go with this particular alert. If you have one that's designed to incorporate the text over top, like the one we just demonstrated with the Lo-Fi Cat, totally fine. Now you can change the message template. You can see here if I hit preview, it just shows the name and then whatever text they might have attached to that subscription. But you can add additional text to it, such as how many months they've been subbed for, or just custom text yourself. So thanks to name for subscribing for months. We're going to test that. I don't know if that's the right formatting. Thanks to Kevin for subscribing for 1 month. Boom. And that shows up across our screen. Now you can filter out whether it shows Prime subs or not. I do like showing those. That's fine. And then you can change the duration as well as the text delay. So the duration is how long the entire alert stays online on the screen. Now mine is dictated mostly by the fade out of the animation itself. But if you are using a static image, which we'll do one for like raids or something, we'll make a static image and show it, then you can increase that duration to change how long the alert shows up. You can also change text delay. So if you have a complex animation that doesn't reveal the text field for a little bit, then you're gonna want to adjust the delay to account for that. You can also upload a sound effect that plays when your animation plays. That will need to be a separate file from the WebM. If you are using WebMs, it'll need to be a separate audio file. I'm personally not going to change that at this moment just for the sake of it. And then you do have alert animation in and out for, especially useful if you have an image, so that it can fade in and out when you are showing it, or you can do zooms, bounces, all that jazz. My animation already has that kind of built in, so we don't really need a whole lot here. So I can say none. Preview. When I do that, it's just going to loop. So actually, I do kind of like the fade out. I take that back. This is why you play with it. Play with the options. We got transitions here. Perfect. Text animation. Wiggle. I like that. It wiggles the name of the subscriber. Amazing. Perfect. You can customize the fonts here. Choose different fonts as you like, as well as size, weight, color, all that jazz. Basic stuff here. Text-to-speech settings. You can actually have it read aloud the message as well as the name. Now, by default, this is disabled. There are, of course, scenarios where people could abuse this on your stream. The options there are available to you, and you have different languages for the text-to-speech as well as a spam security slider to make sure it's not going off with a whole bunch of spam. So maybe you want to crank that up a little bit, but then still leave it on. Could be fun. If you really know what you're doing, you can do custom coding for your alert to go beyond what is supported in the default sliders here. We're not going to mess with that. You can also enable the option for that resubscribe message, which is what that test text below the sub is. You can turn that off entirely if you don't want people to be able to input custom text into your alerts, which for a lot of like highly curated example alerts with like custom animations and stuff, you might not want them to be able to do that. All right, so this was with a WebM, an animation that I hired a graphics designer That's like works at Hollywood level to build. But we can also just make one for with an image. So I'm going to go over here to YouTube and YouTube members. We're going to customize this alert now. So we're going to have text over image, and we're going to make an image. So I'm going to open up. I guess we'll just do Affinity Photo. We'll make something super basic here. This is going to be super embarrassing, but it's fine. Lots of graphic design tutorials available on the internet. Can go down that rabbit hole if you'd like. So we're going to make a basic 1920 by 1080 blank canvas. We do not want white background though. Transparent background. Boom. Close that one. All right, so this is for YouTube members. I'm going to pull up the text tool. I'm a Photoshop guy trying to convert to Affinity, so I don't even have the exact fonts I want. Where are my fonts at? We'll do this one. New member. We'll change our letter spacing here a bit. Possibly. We'll do this text. And we'll get an image from a stock library. So we will get an image like this. Put that text above it. We'll make that text white. And then we will make a big blotch that our alert text can go on. So just a big, soft, that is not white. Like I said, this is going to be super unprofessional. Not exactly what I would do, but hey. And we'll just export this as a PNG as an example. So text over image. We're going to upload our new image. Select. Preview. Instead of fade, we're going to do some sort of cool transition. Light speed may be it. Yeah, let's try light speed in. Where did that go? There's so many options. There it is. Light speed in, light speed out. Text animation, we'll make it wiggle. Preview. Meow. Was a little too delayed on the text. I like that. And then we can come over here to our font size, make it much bigger. Why not? That is how you make it with an image. Do better than I did. So once you've customized your alerts here, you've added your text to it, you've done all that kind of stuff to this theme that you've made in the top right bar here, we can come back to Streamlabs Desktop and it will be synced up. Whichever theme we have selected here in this theme box, it will switch to. So you can make a test one, test it out, and then while you're still working on it, if you end up streaming, then you still have the option of returning to the one you've already been using. But we have all of these available. And then all you need to do is resize your source here to take up however much of the screen you want to fit into your theme or however you have it set up. So if I go over here to subscription now and play it, yeah, thank you, Kevin, for subscribing for 1 month. Got that kind of deal. And if you do make it bigger, if you right click, scale filtering, go down to area. It's probably going to be the best looking one for that. So it's not super blurry. A little crunchy. That's better looking. This is just the basics for a given specific alert, but you can actually get creative with a ton of different variations on your alerts over time, which I think is a really interesting way to make your stream kind of evolve as people watch and subscribe and support you over time and things like that. For example, you could set up a variation alert for a 1-year resub alert, whereas instead of just the normal one, it's like, oh, thanks for resubbing. It's like, wow. 1 whole year. You can have it do different effects, different colors, different whatever. And similar for like tips. Like maybe you get a tip that's over $20. You can set whatever threshold you want and get a completely different result there for your alert, which I think is really powerful and goes a long way to just kind of making your stream different based on how interactive people are. So that is if we want to make our own. You can, of course, use a variety of themes available on the Streamlabs Marketplace. So if we click Browse Themes instead, it will take us to the library. And here there are so many themes. And there are ones specifically for Kick, ones for Twitch, one for YouTube, one for Facebook. You have many options here of varying degrees of relevance to what you're doing. Like some of them are Counter-Strike or Fortnite based. Some of them are more fantasy oriented. Some of them are just neon themed or sticker themed. That one actually looks really cool. Sticker bomb. That is sick, actually. So I want this theme. Now you can see right here, this one is included with Ultra. So if you have Streamlabs Ultra, you get access to this one. I'm going to install it. It asks if I want the overlays or just the alerts. We've covered overlays in the previous videos, so I'm just going to go with the alert box. We're going to try that one out. Because honestly, that is pretty sick. All right, so it should just show up now. So if I test a tip, yo, that's pretty sick. And you can see here, we're kind of confined to this box. So then we want to just make it show up kind of in the corner there. That would be more preferred. That's pretty slick. So you can choose these and install them. It only takes one click. It is super easy, but then you do have the option still of, we refresh this real quick, customizing the alerts further. So this is now customizing the sticker alert theme. We can still change everything. If there's one specific alert you want your own custom animation for, you can swap that in place, or perhaps sound effects, or change the text size. Like, you get all of those options, even for ones that are provided through the Streamlabs library here. Now, if you want to filter these a little bit more, we can do just alert box. You can choose, trending, most popular, things like that. And then you can just kick around and find what maybe you like. Like, let's take a look at another one. Maybe something a little more basic, like this one, regroup. Or a lo-fi desk. This is amazing. I have like post-it notes and stationery and stuff that are exactly in this theme with the faux little window borders. They got a little Nintendo Switch going on there. That is adorable. Oh my gosh. I love it. So yeah, you can go through with any of these and you can mix and match, because maybe you don't want the full theme for this. Maybe you just want the alerts, or maybe you really like this theme, but you want someone else's alerts or to make your own. You have options. They make it super easy, but then they do still give you the granularity to control every little thing. And like I said, you can dive into the CSS to customize it even further if you'd like. That's pretty much everything you need to know about alerts in Streamlabs Desktop. It is a little too easy sometimes, I have to say. As someone who's been making these tutorials for a very long time, alerts used to be the most highly requested thing to cover, because it used to be this whole complex thing. And these days, they really make it easy for you. Hope you enjoyed. Again, go check out that playlist with all the other course episodes linked in the description. And remember to be kind. Rewind.